I chose to be a psychologist in 3rd grade because I want to help black people feel better about themselves. And now I understand what my true purpose as a psychologist is. My job is to lead the spiritual revolution for African people, to correct the psychological damage that 400 years put into African people. We have to be spiritual revolutionaries. We have to be spiritual revolutionaries. Let's get down to business. Today, I want to talk about the crisis of depression and unhappiness in the black community. I have another video that I did several years ago specifically on depression. I did that video from Norfolk State University, but today I want to talk about the crisis of unhappiness in the black community. First of all, if you are an unhappy African, it's because you are doing a couple things wrong. Number one, you are excessively critical. Show me an unhappy African, show me a depressed African, and I will show you someone who suffers from extreme self-criticism, extreme self-emotional abuse. You are domestically abusing yourself. Part of the reason you are so unhappy is you don't have anything good to say about yourself. Part of you being so unhappy, you don't have anything good to say about yourself. There's no way you're going to be a happy person if you suffer from extreme emotional self-criticism. There's no way you can be a happy person if you suffer from extreme emotional self-criticism, brothers and sisters. Stop repeating negative comments to yourself. Stop conditioning your unconscious with negative comments. Stop abusing and ridiculing your self-esteem. So if you are unhappy, if you are depressed, if you are miserable, you suffer from extreme self-criticalness. Extreme self-criticalness. Number two, if you are unhappy, you are miserable, you are a depressed African, you also suffer from extreme perfectionism. Extreme perfectionism. A perfectionistic African will never be happy. A perfectionistic African will never be happy. A perfectionistic African, no matter how much money they have, how much education, if you demand perfection, which is an impossible human trait, if you demand perfection, which is an impossible human trait, you're going to suffer from a lot of disappointment because nobody's perfect. You're going to suffer from a lot of disappointment because nobody's perfect. Your self-esteem is going to take one hell of a beating. Your self-esteem is going to take one hell of a beating because you never have nothing good to say about it. You're always holding your self-esteem to a standard of perfection that it can never reach. Unrealistic expectations is your demon. Unrealistic expectations is your demon. Unrealistic expectations is your demon. Also, what do we know about unhappy Africans? They suffer from a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. A lot of guilt and a lot of shame. A lot of guilt and a lot of shame. What is guilt versus shame? What is guilt versus shame? Guilt is the feeling of remorse when you've done something terribly wrong that was beneath your character and beneath your integrity. Guilt is the feeling that you have done something extremely wrong that is beneath your character and beneath your integrity. That's guilt. Okay? Guilt is when you personally did something wrong. Shame is when something happens to you or something is done to you by another person that makes you feel bad about yourself. Shame is when something happens to you or somebody does something to you that makes you feel bad about yourself. Shame is when you're at the party and your girlfriend goes up to another man and starts hugging and kissing on him. You may be angry, but you also feel shameful. You're embarrassed that your wife is so thirsty. You're embarrassed that your wife is so thirsty. That's shame. Shame is when you're running for the bus and you absolutely trip and fall down and everybody looks and start laughing. That's shame. Shame and guilt are two of the most debilitating emotional demons that you can be colonized by. Shame and guilt are two of the most debilitating emotional demons that you can be traumatized by. And I'm here to tell you right now, Black August, I'm here to tell you right now in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I'm here to tell you right now in St. Croix that you have to rid yourself of guilt and you have to rid yourself of shame, because that is the third issue that unhappy, miserable, depressed Black people suffer from. And see, I'm not going to do like the church. I'm not going to do like the mosque. I'm not going to do like the politician. I'm not going to do at the bar. See, the church wants you to believe you can feel better without working on yourself. The mosque wants you to believe you can feel better without working on yourself. The politician wants you to believe you can feel better without working on yourself. Just vote. The capitalist says all you got to do is shop. Shop yourself into feeling better about yourself. That's the American capitalist. You can actually shop yourself into feeling better. And this is why so many Africans, this is why so many Africans are going into debt. Your depression is driving you into debt. Your depression is driving you into debt. Your depression is driving you into debt. You feel horrible. And every time you feel horrible, you got to go spend money. You got to go spend money. That's why you got 200 pocketbooks. That's why you got 100 pair of high heels. That's why you got 100 pair of sneakers. That's why you got every Balenciaga t-shirt. That's why you got every color Yeezy. Because every time you feel bad, your medicine is materialism. Every time you feel bad, your medicine is materialism. Every time you feel bad, your medicine is materialism. You're trying to shop yourself out of depression. You are trying to shop yourself out of depression. You are trying to shop yourself out of depression. It's never going to work. The church cannot save you because the church is not going to hold you accountable. The mosque cannot save you. The mosque is not going to hold you accountable. White capitalism cannot save you because they only want to exploit your low self-esteem, your pain, and your depression for profit. Capitalism is about the exploitation of Black pain for European profit. Capitalism is about the exploitation of Black pain for European profit. Capitalism is about the exploitation of Black pain for European profit, brothers and sisters. And as the minister of mental health for the African race, as minister of mental health for the African race, as minister for mental health for the African race, I'm here to tell you that there is a solution. And the solution to all your problems, you have to take control over your life. You have to take control over your feelings. You have to take control over your past. You have to take control over your trauma. You have to take control over your sadness, your guilt, your remorse, your shame, your low self-esteem, your procrastination. You have to take control. They are all controllable, but you have to work at it. It will not be easy. The devil never gives up an easy fight. The devil never gives up an easy fight. The devil never gives up an easy fight. You praying for salvation from your mental issues, but prayer will not solve your mental issues because God gave you the ability to solve your mental issues. Let me explain something to you. Let me explain something to you. If God already gave you the answer to a problem, there will never be divine intervention. If God already gave you an answer to your problems, there will never be divine intervention. If you were already born with everything you needed to solve your problems, why should God be bothered? If the Creator gave you everything you need in order to solve your problems, why should God be bothered? If the Creator already gave you what you need to solve your problems, why should the Most High be bothered? Why would the ancestors be bothered? Why would Shango and Ogun and Obatala and Eshu and Onile and Ayan Agula? Why would the Iyami, the Egbe? Why would your Ori? Why would Oya and Yemonja and Olokun? Why would the Ibeji and Babaluaye and Agayu? Why would Osumare and Olosa? Why would they be bothered with us if we already have the solutions to solve our own problems? We're talking about the crisis of unhappiness. This is your big brother King Kong. Hit the Cash App, $ FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, $ FDMG School. Hit the Cash App, $ FDMG School. Hit your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Hit your PayPal, paypal.me/FDMG Academy. Heaven on earth is coming. Renovations are complete. I'm live in St. Croix. We are going to fellowship, network. We're going to party. We're going to have fun. I'm going to eat some of that good Caribbean food. I'm going to hug up on some 5'5", thick in the thighs, extra curvy Caribbean queens for my birthday, because that is my God right. I do the work, I get the hugs. I do the work, I get the hugs. Let's go back to the message. We're talking about the crisis of unhappiness amongst Africans. So African people suffer from self-criticalness. African people who are unhappy suffer from perfectionism. African people who are unhappy suffer from guilt, shame, and a lack of forgiveness. You have to be able to forgive yourself to free the soul. If you cannot forgive yourself for things that you have done wrong, mistakes that you have made, if you can never forgive yourself, you will never be spiritually free. You cannot hold grudges against yourself or against other people to be spiritually free. You cannot hold grudges against yourself and against other people to be spiritually free. Some of you can forgive others, but you never can forgive yourself. Some of you can forgive others, but you never can forgive yourself. Some of you can forgive others, but you never can forgive yourself. You know why you don't want to forgive yourself? You don't believe you are worthy. You do not believe you are worthy of forgiveness. You believe you deserve to be punished. You believe you deserve to be punished. A lot of us believe we deserve to be punished. Why do you believe you deserve to be punished? Because you grew up in a home. You grew up in a home with excessively critical parents. You grew up in a family with excessively critical siblings, excessively critical aunts and uncles, excessively critical sports coaches, excessively critical teachers. You grew up in a home where you were taught that if you're not perfect, you have no value. You grew up in a home that told you if you are not perfect, you have no value. You grew up in a home that said if you are not perfect, you have no value. And so whenever you do something wrong, you feel like you're worthless. Whenever you make a mistake, you feel like you're worthless. You have to reprogram your life. You have to reprogram your consciousness. You have to reprogram your unconsciousness. I think I need to have a DR.UMAR I Am God conference. What do y'all think, brothers and sisters? Who wants to come to the Dr. Ifatunde I Am God conferences, men and women? I think I need to teach everybody how to reprogram the mind, how to reprogram the unconscious. Because we are a bunch of miserable Africans thinking we're going to win a revolution against Europeanism. We cannot win if we don't have our divine minds. We have to reclaim our divine minds. Look forward to the I Am God Ifatunde conference. Look forward to the I Am God. We have to help you overcome your shame, overcome your guilt. You have been brainwashed by negativity into thinking you have no right to exist on this planet. You have been brainwashed by negativity into thinking you have no right to exist on this planet. You have been brainwashed by negativity into believing you have no right to exist on this planet. We're going to change all that. But you have to forgive. You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. If you can't forgive yourself, we can't do nothing with you. If you can't forgive yourself, we can't do nothing with you. If you refuse to stop abusing, condemning, criticizing yourself, beating up your soul, stop it. Stop it. I'm going to tell you something else that's common amongst Africans who suffer from unhappiness. You know what else is common for Africans who suffer from unhappiness? They don't live from the spirit enough. They live from the mind too much. They don't live from the spirit enough. They live from the mind too much. They don't live from the spirit enough. They live from the mind too much. Learn to live from your spirit. Some days I want you to wake up. Here's a homework experiment. I'm giving you some psychological homework. I'm giving you some psychological homework. Some days I want you to make a conscious decision. I'm only living from my spirit today. Try this. Try this powerful experiment from DR.UMAR Ifatunde. I want you to try this powerful experiment from DR.UMAR Ifatunde. I want you to wake up one day a week. One day a week, I want you to live from your spirit, not from your mind. All decisions will come from how you feel. Everything you eat will come from how you feel spiritually, not mentally. Everything you do, everybody you call is going to come from how you feel. Let me explain something to you. Thinking is the organ of the mind. Feeling is the organ of the spirit. Thinking is the organ of the mind. Feeling is the organ of the spirit. Thinking is the organ of the mind. Spirit is the organ of the feeling. If you know somebody suffering from sadness, chronic depression, tell them to jump on Dr.UMAR Ifatunde's live. But if you know of an African suffering from chronic debilitating sadness, chronic debilitating depression, if you know of a miserable African, tell them to jump on right now. If your husband is a miserable SOB, tell him to jump on. If your wife is a miserable SOB, son of a black coon, daughter of a black coon, tell him to hop on right now. Now, let me say this. Some of you think when you say I feel bad, when you say I feel bad, I feel like killing myself, I feel like dying, you're not speaking about a feeling from your spirit. Because your spirit never feels sad, suicidal, depressed, only your mind. But the way we think is so strong that it induces false emotions from the mind. The mind produces its own false emotions. I said the mind produces its own false emotions. I said the mind produces. So when you say, I feel like crap today, I feel like dying, I feel like quitting, I feel sad, that's not your spirit. The spirit is from God. Spirit does not experience negative emotions. That is your mind creating a false feeling from your thoughts. Your mind is distracting you from the peace, the eternal peace that your spirit always feels. Your spirit is always at eternal peace. You have to tap into it. Your spirit is always at eternal peace. You have to tap into it. Your spirit is always at eternal peace. You have to tap into it. All of us can achieve peace in a second if we had a relationship with our spirit. We don't have a relationship with our spirit. A lot of Christians, not all Christians, but a lot of Christians, not all Christians, but a lot of Christians, not all Christians, they have a relationship with the church. They have a relationship with the Bible. They have a relationship with their pastor, but they have not yet found their soul. They have not yet found the innermost I am. When you find the innermost I am, everything in life falls into place. When you find the innermost I am, no matter how many bad things are happening to you in life, you will still be at peace. You have not yet found that unshakable soul within you that does not respond to negativity, that is not responsive to bad events that happen into your life. You have to find the I am that is inside of all of us. No disrespect to the church. You can't find it screaming and jumping and shouting. No disrespect. No disrespect. No disrespect to the masjid. But you can't always find it by studying Quran and listen to khutbah. You have to find the I am in the darkness of solitude. In the darkness of silence and solitude, that's how you find God. If you don't go into the darkness of silence and solitude, I know you don't have God in your life. I don't give a damn how many religions you belong to. If you do not go into the darkness of silence and solitude on a regular basis, I know you don't know God. I don't care what religion you belong to. I don't care how many years you've been in your religion. I don't care how saved you are. I don't care how much Arabic you speak. I don't care about how much traditional African spirituality you have practiced. If you don't go into the silence of black solitude, it is the blackness. Our salvation is in the dark because the light is born from the dark. The child is birthed from the dark womb of the mother. Let us continue. Let us continue. When you forgive yourself, you're not forgetting what you did. Black woman, when you forgave yourself for cheating on your husband, black man, when you forgave yourself for not being in your child's life, you're not forgetting that you made a mistake, because you will repeat it again. You are not forgetting that you made a mistake. Forgiveness is not forgetfulness. Peace and Pan-Africanism. Forgiveness is not forgetfulness. Peace and Pan-Africanism. Self-forgiveness is not self-forgetfulness. You don't forget you did something wrong. You don't forget you cheated. You don't forget you stole. You don't forget you hurt somebody. You don't forget to fulfill your obligations. You will always remember what you did. When you forgive, you're simply saying, I have to release the emotional pain associated with this memory, because I cannot grow until I do. That's it. That's it. You're giving yourself permission not to forget what you did, but permission to continue your evolution on the spiritual path. You're giving yourself permission to continue your evolution on the spiritual path. You can't do that holding a grudge against yourself or against other people. All the people who slandered and sabotaged us during the FDMG campaign, I forgive every last one of them. I forgive them. There's nobody on earth I have a grudge against other than my eternal enemy, the unnatural being. That's it. Other than the unnatural being, I don't have any grudges. Not against African people. No, not against Africans. That's family. To hold a grudge against another African is to hold a grudge against yourself. And to hold a grudge against yourself is to hold a grudge against African people, because there really is no I. There's only we. There really is no I. There's only we. There really is no I. There's only we. So everything you feel, we feel. You're adding to the negativity within the collective spirit of African people. Everything you do good benefits all of us. Everything you do bad hurts all of us. There is no I, there's only we. That's why when the Rastafari speak, they say I and I. When the Rastafari speak, they say I and I. When the Rastafari speak, they say I and I. Because you are me and I am you. So when I'm talking about you, I'm still talking about me. We got to get back to oneness. 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 Because when we become one, when African people activate oneness, that is a manifestation of supreme God consciousness. Did you hear what I just said? Did you hear what I just said? When we come together and activate oneness as a race of people, this is why I'm against tribalism amongst African people. God don't recognize no national boundaries. God don't recognize no continental boundaries. God don't recognize no geographical boundaries. God is no respecter of persons. God is no respecter of persons. God don't put black people into groups. God don't put African people into groups. We are one family. So when my Ethiopian family hurt, I hurt. When my Congolese family hurt, I hurt. When my Ghanaian family hurt, I hurt. When my Jamaican family hurt, I hurt. When my Canadian family hurt, I hurt. When my Brazilian family hurt, I hurt. When my Honduras family hurt, I hurt. Because there's no separation. There's only the illusion of separation. There's the illusion we are not separate. We are one, but we have not walked into a greater existence and understanding of our great divine oneness. All African people standing together as one is a manifestation of God consciousness. That's why you got Negroes saying they are enlightened spiritually. You got Negroes running around the conscious community talking about they are enlightened beings. We got Negroes running around the conscious community talking about they spiritual. There's no such thing as individual spirituality without collective racial spirituality. If your spirituality was that great, you would influence the whole race. If your spirituality is that great, you should be influencing the whole race. You are ego worshiping, my brother. You are ego worshiping, my sister. There's no such thing as a spiritually astute being around a bunch of spiritually undeveloped Negroes. That doesn't even make sense. Oil and water don't mix. You spiritually elevated, but you hang around the unspiritually elevated every day. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. You're spiritually elevated, but you hang around the spiritually destitute every day. Help me understand. You're not elevating them. You're not reaching them. You're not waking them. You want them to stay where they are. You want them to be spiritually underdeveloped so you can look special. Your ego. The Negro's ego is the number one arch enemy of our people. I said the Negro's ego is the number one enemy of African people. The Negro's ego is the number one enemy of African people. Let me say this. The ego is the energy of identity. The personal ego is the entity of identity. The ego has a very long memory. The ego keeps count of everything you've done wrong in your life. If you have low self-esteem, if you are miserable, if you are unhappy, it is because you have a defective ego. You have a defective ego. Most people's egos keeps account of what they do good because the ego always needs to feel good about itself. The ego always needs to feel good about itself. So most people's ego keeps a running record of what they did well. The problem with the narcissistic ego, it only keeps a record of what it does well, and it never acknowledges when it does wrong. That's the problem with the narcissist. The narcissist doesn't keep a record book of mistakes. The narcissist only keeps a record book of achievements. The narcissist only keeps a record book of achievements. The narcissist never keeps accounting of its mistakes. That's a narcissist, right? A normal, healthy African, their ego keeps account of the good and the bad. Their ego keeps account. You remember your good and you remember your mistakes. That's a healthy ego. A normal, healthy ego is balanced. It recognizes the good. It recognizes the bad. But if you are depressed, if you have low self-esteem, if you are self-grudging, you have a defective ego. Let me tell you about the defective ego. Let me tell you about the defective ego. Let me tell you about the defective ego. The defective ego only keeps account of what you do wrong. The memory bank within the defective ego only keeps account of what you do wrong. The narcissist keeps account of what they do right. Normal Africans keep account of what they do right and what they do wrong. Defective ego Africans only keep account of what you do wrong. This is why you're miserable. This is why you're depressed. This is why you're unhappy. This is why you're self-grudging. This is why you have no confidence in yourself. This is why you have no value, because your ego is defective. You have a diseased ego that only celebrates mistakes. I hope you're listening to me, low self-esteem Africans. I hope you're listening to me, unhappy Africans. I hope you're listening to me, miserable Africans. So my treatment plan for you is we are going to have to weaken the defective ego and slowly heal your defective ego so it becomes a positive one. We're going to slowly heal your defective ego so it becomes a positive one. So we're going to have to Train your ego to start recognizing the good that you do. We are going to have to train your ego to start recognizing the good that you do. We're going to have to retrain your ego so it starts recognizing the good that you do, because right now you have a defective ego that only recognizes your mistakes. That's your problem. You are the opposite of the narcissist. You are I'm going to call you the anti-narcissist. You are the narcissist only recognizes the good things he does. And you, with the defective ego, the anti-narcissist, you only recognize the bad that you do. To be happy and healthy, we need balance. Repetition, because I'm teaching and I'm training. Repetition, because I'm teaching and I'm training. Repetition, I am teaching and I am training. I say everything 3 times because I'm Ifatunde 3 times. I say everything. I'm going to be at the fairgrounds today, my queen, 3 o'clock. I'm assuming you're African. I can't tell. You might be African vanilla. You might be African lemonade. I can't tell. But yes, today at the agricultural fairgrounds in St. Croix, we will be out there from 3 until 8. Come hear the music, bring the children, bring the elders, get some of that vitamin D. Don't be afraid of the sun. I'm going to the beach tomorrow and I'm going to get as black as I can get. I'm going to the beach tomorrow and I'm going to activate divine melanin as much as I can. I'm going to sit under the sun. When I go to Africa, I'm under the sun. Y'all be running from the sun. I am a melanated being, and melanin is the most important mineral in my life. I am a melanated being. My melanin is more important than money. My melanin is more important than oxygen. My melanin is more important than gold. My melanin is more important than oil. My melanin is more important than copper and coltan and manganese, and my melanin is more important than all of that. Activate melanin. Activate melanin. Activate melanin, brothers and sisters. Stop running from the sun. Get off that light skin supremacy crap. Activate your melanin. Activate your melanin. All Africans, from the lightest to the darkest, from the blue eyes to the brown eyes, go activate melanin. Before Leo season, before the summer ends, you got to activate melanin before the winter solstice of September the 21st. You have until September 21st to activate melanin. You have until DR.UMAR arrives in Cameroon to activate melanin. You have until September the 21st to activate melanin. You have until DR.UMAR arrives in the Cameroon of West Africa, September the 21st, to activate your melanin. Now, let me get back to this. Let me get back to this. Let me get back to this. Every one of us, every single one of us has an inner child. Every one of us has an inner child. Every one of us has an inner child. As you know, the ego of a child is in flux because they do not know who they are yet. A child doesn't know whether to feel good, whether to feel bad, whether to have high self-esteem, whether to have low self-esteem. This is why a child is profoundly affected by every good and bad thing in their life. A child is profoundly affected by every good and bad thing in their life because they are in the process of discovering I am. A child does not yet know I am. So every good thing and every bad thing that happens to a child changes their entire mindset immediately. A child can be happy 1 minute, unhappy the next minute. It's like bipolar. Children have an organic bipolarity to them. Children have an organic bipolarity to them. But as we go through life, we stop reacting to outside circumstances because we know that who I am is not contingent on what's going on around me. I don't exist in relation to everything else. I exist because God made me. I am. I exist because God made me. I am. I don't exist in relation to everything else or anything else. I exist because God made me. I am. God does not exist in relation to anything else. God is. That's why the ancient Kemites said, I am. I am has nothing to do with who you are. I am has nothing to do with what is. I am has nothing to do with what was. I am has nothing to do with what will be. I am that I am because I am. That's it. That's the spirit. The identity of the spirit is I am. Communication of the spirit is your feelings. The identity of the spirit is I am. The communication of the spirit is feel. When you feel something that is not an artificial feeling produced by your mind. How do you know it's a real feeling and not an artificial feeling, a counterfeit emotion produced by the mind? Because if it is a reaction to negative thought, it's from the mind. Spirit don't have negative emotions. If you feel bad, you don't feel bad. Your mind wants you to feel bad because your mind feels that you have failed. You understand me? Your mind feels that you have failed. So the mind, that is a mind feeling. That's not a spiritual feeling. A spiritual feeling and a mental feeling are two different things. A mental feeling is a reaction to negative thinking. A mental feeling is a reaction to negative thinking. A mental feeling is a reaction to negative thinking. You want me to speak at your conference for black women? No problem. I have no problem speaking at your conference for black women. I have no problem speaking at your conference for black women, assuming this is a biological black woman's conference. Assuming this is a biological black woman's conference. That's what I'm hoping. Getting back to today's lesson. I am is the identity of the spirit. Feeling is the communication of the spirit. I own, I do, I have, I achieved. That is the identity of the ego. Thoughts are the emotions and the feelings of the ego. The ego don't care about spirit. The ego only cares about gain and loss. And this is why you have to develop your spiritual essence, your spiritual nature. You got to get deeper and deeper in touch with your soul force, the I am, the God within you, because you will not be able to elevate. You will not be able to surpass this negative conditioned mind that the church gave you, the masjid gave you, your peers gave you, your teachers gave you, your family gave you. You think based on family programming. Most of us think based on family programming. You have to change that programming, but you don't believe I can because you're not as disciplined as your ego. You have to change the programming, but you don't believe that you can because you don't have the discipline of your ego. Your ego is relentless. Your ego is relentless. Your ego is relentless. So if you want to change negative thinking, negative conditioned patterns, you have to be relentless just like your ego. You have to be relentless just like your ego. You have to be relentless just like your ego. You have to forgive yourself. You have to forgive yourself. You're not forgetting what you did. You're not giving up accountability. You're simply saying, I'm releasing the negative emotion from this memory because if I don't, I cannot grow. And God put me here to be a growth. My whole purpose for being on earth is to manifest God consciousness. We are here to grow back into God. Let me say that again. On earth, you grow from baby into an adult. On earth, you grow from baby into an adult. On earth, you grow from baby into an adult. But in the spiritual realm, you grow from Neo to God. You are on earth to realize you are a manifestation of supreme consciousness. You have a destiny because in fulfilling your destiny, that brings you closer to realizing that your purpose on this earth is to manifest God consciousness. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism. This is the Prince of Pan-Africanism. See, some of us are politically woke. We socially woke. We're not spiritually, intellectually woke. If we were spiritually and intellectually woke, we would not be as addicted to materialism as we are. If we were spiritually and intellectually woke, we would not be as self-hating, suicidal, homicidal. We would not be as depressed, sad, alcoholic. Black people are living a lie. You think you're spiritual. Now, you are spiritual, but you have not attained the highest spiritual levels of growth. Yes, you are spiritual by nature, but have you attained the highest levels of spiritual growth? Yes, you are spiritual by nature, but have you attained the highest levels of spiritual growth? No, you don't. You're still stuck on materialism. You have to leave materialism behind to walk the way of the Christ. I'm not talking Jesus Christ. I'm talking any black person who is anointed by a soul. You have to leave it. Self-criticalness, you have to leave it. Being jealous of other black people, you would leave it. Comparing yourself to other people, you would leave it. Black people who are depressed have an erratic thought organ, the mind. The mind is erratic. It cannot stop thinking. You think only through thinking can you solve your problems. You think that only through thinking can you solve your problem. The soul does not operate in your thoughts. The soul operates in your being. The soul doesn't operate in your thoughts. The soul operates in your being. The soul does not operate in the realm of thought. The soul operates in the realm of existence. How can an unhealthy mind produce a happy person? How can an unhealthy mind produce a happy person? How can an unhappy mind produce a happy person? Stop thinking. Your problem is you think too much. Thoughts don't heal the spirit. Meditation does. Contemplation does. Prayer does. Intentional right living heals the soul, not thoughts. And when you're thinking, you're never thinking about the present, here and now. You're always thinking about past. You're always thinking about future. You're scared of the future and depressed about your past, so you can't grow. You're scared of your future and depressed about your past, so you can't grow. You're scared of your future and you're depressed about your past, so you can't grow. The ego lives in the past. The ego lives in the future. The ego cannot live in the now. The ego cannot live in the now because spirit owns the now. That's why you pray now. You fast now. You meditate now. You think deeply now. You spiritually study now. The spirit owns the now. Whenever you're depressed, it's because you got snuck in the past. Whenever you're depressed, it's because you snuck into the past. Whenever you feel anxious, you snuck into the future. Yes, you should plan for the future. Do all you can. And once you're done, leave it to God. The problem with you is you have no faith in God and you have no faith in yourself. So after you prepare, you don't know how to leave it alone. You raise your child and now your child is in the world and you keep calling your child every 5 minutes because you're anxious that you didn't really teach your child how to survive. Your anxiety has you calling your child. And your child is like, stop calling me. I'm a grown man. Stop calling me. You can't because your mind is dictating your actions. Your mind is dictating your thoughts. Your mind is dictating. Somebody just said, what God are you talking about? Some spiritually malnourished Negro just asked me what God are you talking about? Some spiritually malnourished Negro just asked me, what God are you talking about? See how messed up we are? He needs a name for the creator in order to hear the message. He is so religiously programmed. He needs to know the name for God before he can listen. Well, let me answer the question, my brother. My dear brother, God has no name. You cannot define the unfindable. God has no name. And since no name is sufficient for God, not Buddha, Allah, Jehovah, Yahweh, Chukwu, Olodumare, no name is perfect for God because God cannot be named. But the problem with negative thinking Africans is the mind is already an erratic creature. Your mind produces over 60,000 thoughts a day. Your mind produces over 60,000 thoughts a day. Your mind produces over 60,000 thoughts a day. And if you are a negativistic African, if you are a pessimistic, negativistic African, if you are a pessimistic, negativistic African, of those 60,000 thoughts a day that your mind produces, of those 60,000 thoughts a day that your mind produces, of those 60,000 thoughts a day that your mind produces, 99% of them will be negative. Do you know why? Why will 99% of your thoughts be negative even if you want to be positive? Why will 99% of your thoughts be negative even if you want to be positive? I love you too, Russian Beauty 92. I love you too, Russian Beauty 92. And why is your name Russian? Do you live in Russia, my beautiful African sister? Let me say this. Black woman, black man, I want you to hear me, but I want the black sisters to hear me. Black man, I want you to hear me, but I want my sisters. Black woman, I'm not being nasty or profanic or profane when I say this. Listen to me, sisters. This is why the black woman must screen the men she allows to fertilize her eggs. This is why black women must choose wisely the men you allow in your yoniverse. A black woman cannot allow a spiritual vampire in her yoniverse. A black woman cannot allow a spiritual vampire in her yoniverse. A black woman cannot allow a spiritual vampire in her yoniverse. Because if you allow a spiritually underdeveloped Negro, if you allow a negativistic Negro, if you allow a demonically depressed African to inject his spiritual fluids into your yoniverse, the quality and vibration of your yoniverse will be diminished because you allow death to crawl into the cave of life. You allow death to crawl into the cave of life. And the same thing goes for black men. The same thing goes for black men. The same thing goes for black men. Black men, you cannot allow to be injecting your God syrup into a spiritually malnourished sister. I don't care how big the ass. I don't care how voluptuous the breasts. I don't care how thick the thighs. I don't care, black man. Don't let your carnal needs destroy your spiritual destiny. Don't let your carnal needs destroy your spiritual destiny. Don't let your carnal needs destroy your spiritual destiny. Black man, you ever make love to a queen and you come away weak? She just robbed you of your spiritual ashe. You ever made love to a black queen and you came away spiritually weak? She just robbed you. She just robbed you. She just snatched your ashe. She just snatched your ashe. You gave her all your God syrup. She has a thirsty vagina. She has a spiritually malnourished vagina. She just vampired your ass. A spiritually malnourished vagina. She just vampired your ass. A spiritually malnourished vagina. She just vampired your ass. Black woman, you allowed him to shoot his spoiled, non-divine demon syrup in your yoniverse. Your frequency just dropped by 20 degrees. Your frequency just dropped by 20 degrees. You know who have a lot of low frequency? Beautiful black women who get a lot of attention. They have a lot of low frequencies. Why do some of the most beautiful black women have some of the lowest frequencies? Because she out there sexing away her black magic. She's out there sexing away her black magic. She's out there sexing away her black magic, but she's not pouring into her soul. She's not connected to God. She's not connected to her God force. She's giving away all her juices. She's giving away all her spiritual energy, and she's not connected to God. So she gets no re-up. She gets no re-up. She's not replenished. She fine as hell, but spiritually malnourished. The brother might look good, sister, but is he spiritually malnourished? Are there still plans to build a school? I'm not even going to answer that silly question because I spoke on that already. I can't even answer you, my sister. Are there still plans to build a school? I can't even answer that question after announcing to the world that we finished the renovations on August the 11th. But anyway, brothers and sisters, the mind is erratic by nature. The mind is erratic by nature. The mind is erratic by nature. That's okay if you programmed your mind to only repeat positive statements. But if you have a defective ego that only focuses on the negative, all your automatic thoughts will be negative. So you are suffering from colonization by your own mind. Your mind is your best friend or your worst enemy. That's a quote from Gautama Buddha. Gautama Buddha, Prince Siddhartha, said your mind is your best friend or your worst enemy. Nobody can help you more than your own mind. No one can hurt you more than your own mind. If you have a defective ego, we got to heal that ego so it start recognizing the good you do. Homework assignment if you have a low ego. Homework assignment if you have a low ego. Homework assignment if you have a low ego. Every night before you go to bed, you're going to repeat 3 times 16 things that you did good that day. Every night before you go to bed. An African with a defective ego has to reprogram the unconscious while they sleep. If you don't give the unconscious new content to reprogram itself, it will continue to operate off the defective content of the ego. If you have problems, emotional and intellectual, spiritual problems, don't go to bed without giving your mind something positive to think about. Don't go to bed without giving your unconscious some new prophecies to meditate on while you are asleep. Let your mind heal you in your sleep. 16 things before you go to bed tonight, 16 things that you did that were good. You might have helped somebody. You might have gave some charity. You might have gave somebody a smile. You might have gave somebody a hug. You might have picked up some trash. You might have made a donation to the FDMG Academy. You might have made a donation to the FDMG Academy. You might have made a donation to the FDMG Academy. Go to bed with positive energy. Never go to bed with negative energy. If you got negative energy, stay awake until you change it. Take a bath, go for a walk, go for a jog, go to your ancestral shrine and talk to the ancestors, but never go to bed with negative energy. Never go to bed with negative energy. Never go to bed with negative energy. 2 more things I want to say before I let y'all go. If you need to schedule a personal consultation, life coaching session, 215-989-9858. If you need to schedule a personal consultation, life coaching session, 215-989-9858. If you want to schedule a personal consult or life coaching session, you have my number. I chose to be a psychologist in 3rd grade because I want to help Black people feel better about themselves. And now I understand what my true purpose as a psychologist is. My job is to lead the spiritual revolution for African people. My job is to lead the spiritual revolution for African people. My job is to correct the psychological damage that 400 years put into African people. We have to be spiritual revolutionaries. We have to be spiritual revolutionaries. We have to be spiritual revolution. I'm not sending it to your inbox. My phone number is 215-989-9858. I'm not sending it to your inbox. You should know my number by now if you're raising Black children. You should know my number by now if you're raising Black children. You should know my number by now if you're serious about African liberation. You should know my number by now if you're serious about African liberation. 215-989-9858. 215-989-9858. I live for Carrie said, how can you attract so much negative if you're so positive? Sister Carrie said, why can we attract so much negative if we're so positive? Sister I Live for Carrie on Instagram said, how can we attract so much negative if we live for positive? I got 2 answers, Sister Carrie. I have 3 answers, Sister Carrie. Are you ready, Sister Carrie? Answer number 1, why do people who think they positive attract negative? Because maybe you're really negative and your positive is a false self that you created to hide from your negativistic ways. Maybe you're not positive. Maybe you're negative. Consciously, you're positive, but your unconscious mind might be operating on a negative polarity. Your unconscious mind might be operating on a negative premise. Your unconscious mind might be operating on a negative foundation. That's why you think you're positive and you could be negative. Check your unconscious thoughts. Check your unconscious beliefs. Check your unconscious thoughts. Check your unconscious beliefs. That's number 1, Sister Carrie. Are you really positive or do you think you are? That's number 1. Number 2, Sister Carrie. Number 2, Sister Carrie. Number 2, Sister Carrie. Is it possible Your soul arrangement with Almighty God required you to go through the negative things you have went through. Maybe you had a soul agreement with God, because we all come into this world with a soul agreement with the Most High. We all come into this world with a purpose and a destiny and a soul agreement with the Most High. It might very well be your destiny to experience those bad things. It may very well be your destiny to lose your child. It may very well be your destiny to lose an organ. It may very well be your destiny to go through that accident. Is it possible your soul needed that traumatic experience in order to put you back on the righteous path? Is it possible that nothing short of tragedy could have got your spiritual attention? I'm just asking a question. I'm just asking a question. Don't shoot the messenger. Listen to the message. Don't shoot the messenger. Just listen to the message. Don't shoot the message. Just listen to the messenger. You may have had a destiny, a soul agreement with God that required you to go through your tragedy. This is why in African spirituality, we have divination. We get readings from the oracle. We don't just pray and shout, dance, and listen to the imam and the priest. We get answers from the universe right now. In African culture, we get answers from the universe right now. In African culture, we get answers from the universe right now. But brothers and sisters, this new birth year for me, as of August the 21st, my solar return, this new birth year for me, brothers and sisters, is a year where, in addition to finishing up FDMG, in addition to opening the doors of FDMG, I'm going to focus more on the psychological and spiritual redemption of African people. I'm going to focus more on the psychological and spiritual conditioning of African people. So your second answer, Sister Carrie, it could have been a soul agreement. First answer, are you sure you're not positive? Because we tend to attract what we think about and where we vibrate. Did y'all hear me? If you are always thinking negative about yourself in your life, you're only going to attract negative experiences. If you've always been thinking negative about yourself in your life, you are vibrating on a low. Negativity is a negative polarity energy. Negativity is a negative polarity energy. If you're always thinking negatively, you can only attract negative people, negative circumstances, negative experiences. And when you start thinking positive, that does not automatically change. You have to first exhaust the karma you have accumulated. Did y'all hear what I said? Some of y'all will go out here one day and say, Dr.UMAR said, stop thinking negative. I'm going to start thinking positive, and I'm still going through negative. Dr.UMAR said, start speaking positive. And when I started speaking positive, the negative kept happening. The reason the negative kept happening is because you have a karmic debt. All those years of negativity, you got to pay that debt. All those years of negativity, you got to pay that debt. So yes, when you start thinking positive, you are still going to experience negative because you have an unpaid debt. And not until the debt is paid will you stop thinking negative or attracting negative, even if you're positive. We are energetic beings. We are energetic beings. We are energy forces. If you constantly vibrating on negative frequency, that's all you can get. Positive thinking matters because it raises the vibration, and in raising the vibration, it dictates destiny. It might take years. It might take months. All karmic debts. You cannot declare bankruptcy on the spiritual bank of God's universe. You cannot declare bankruptcy. There is no get out of your spiritual debts free card. There is no get out of your spiritual debts free card. We have to be graceful when things are going good for us. And we have to be peaceful when things are negative. You will experience negative and positive your whole life, The universe operates on that principle. That is the balance of all things. Negative isn't always bad either. Negative can be good. It can be good for you to lose something that you were worshiping more than God. You understand? So negative doesn't mean bad. It just means it is the refractory aspect of existence. Some of y'all sleeping with demons. Some of y'all sleeping with eternally pessimistic people. Why would you let a spiritually defunct Shango stick in your yoniverse? Why would you let a spiritually defunct Shango stick in your universe? Black sister, I'm asking you a question. Why would you allow a spiritually defunct Shango stick to penetrate your yoniverse? Black men, if you know that woman negative, if you know that woman ain't never got good to say, if you know she evil, she hold grudges, she can't forgive, why did you bend that over? Why did you spread her wings, my brother? Why did you go swimming in that ocean? Why did you sample the cookie jar if you know that woman had a spiritually infected vagina? Why did you go in there? She had a spiritually infected vagina. Why did you go? Y'all keep talking about sexually transmitted diseases. Y'all better start worrying about spiritually transmitted diseases. Y'all keep talking about sexually transmitted diseases. Y'all better understand that they're spiritually transmitted diseases. Y'all keep talking about sexually transmitted diseases. Y'all better start worrying about the spiritually transmitted diseases. Don't forget you have an inner child. Everything you experienced as a child is in the memory of the inner child under the control of ego. Many of us have so many unmet childhood needs, so many unfulfilled childhood regrets and ambitions that we refuse to retire the child and allow the adult to take over. Some of us have yet to activate the adult. We are still living in child space because we have unfulfilled childhood needs. We are going to heal your inner child. The inner child must go into eternal sleep, not death, just eternal sleep. So you don't keep connecting your current mistakes with childhood mistakes, reinforcing a belief that you are not worthy of anything. I said we have to retire your inner child so your positive mistakes are not, your mistakes as an adult are not tied to your mistakes as a child, which is reinforcing a negative belief that you are not worthy of being on this planet. That's why we got low self-esteem. It's not just you made a mistake today. The mistake you made today is added to all the mistakes you made as a child and all the mistakes you made in your past. And because you have a negative mindset, your ego keeps on reminding you of all the mistakes and all the bad things you did. You never focus on your positive. In order to help you, we have to teach you to consistently focus on positive. No negative self-thoughts, no negative conversation. Say nothing negative about another person except the eternal enemy of African people. You never have nothing negative to say about another black person. You might choose not to say anything at all, but you're not going to say nothing negative. You might choose not to say anything at all, but you're not going to say nothing negative. No problem. You believe in Jesus Christ. You have a right to believe in Jesus Christ. And I'm so glad Jesus Christ has saved you. But we are not required to believe in Jesus Christ. We are required to believe in God. Do you understand? So please do not try to spoil this positive conversation because your religious ego is getting the best of you. Don't let your religious Willie Lynch chip come into this space. Don't let your religious Willie Lynch chip come into this space and cause a problem because you've been taught that your religion is the only way to get to God. And I'm here to tell you that if you've been taught that your religion is the only way to get to God, you have been taught a lie. God created no religions. God never created a religion. Man created religion. There's nothing wrong with your religion, but I do not need your religion to find God. I do not need your religion to find God. I do not need your religion to find God. I do not need your religion to find God. In fact, I might have a harder time finding God through your religion than on my own. I might have a harder time finding God through your religion than on my own. I might have a harder time finding God through your religion than on my own. Brothers and sisters, I hope this conversation has benefited you. If you are depressed, if you are negative, if you are miserable, you need a life coaching session, all you got to do is message me, 215-989-9858. You have eternal peace within you. You have eternal peace within you. You have eternal peace, but you have to find it. And you can't find it being distracted by Jesus or Muhammad or anything else. You have to find it by going within. Nothing wrong with Jesus and Muhammad. I'll pray in the masjid. I'll pray in the church. God is one. Religions are many because there are many egos. God is one. Religions are many because there are many egos. God is one. Religions are many because there are many egos. God is one, but religions are many because there are many egos. You have eternal peace within you. Find it. Meditation, prayer, chant, study, exercise, deep thought. Find your spiritual center, because that is the center of your universe. And once you experience divine oneness, you'll never be depressed again. Once you experience divine oneness, you'll never need to smoke again, drink again. You won't need to keep overeating or oversexing to deal with your internal issues. Once you find the I am. See, the conspiracy of religion, the grand conspiracy of religion is it teaches you that you need something outside of yourself to find eternal peace and oneness with God. The eternal scandal of religion is it teaches you that you have to get something outside in order to be happy inside. Religion is just like the capitalists. The church is just like the capitalists. They tell you you got to get something outside to be happy inside. And Dr.UMAR Ifatunde, the prophet of God, Dr.UMAR Ifatunde, the prophet of God, is here to tell you. Dr.UMAR Ifatunde, the prophet of God, is here to tell you you don't need nothing outside. Eternal peace and oneness with God is your birthright. Eternal peace and oneness with God is inside. You got to go into the blackness. Find a dark place and spend at least an hour there every day. An hour in the dark to impregnate the soul with new beginnings. And then you spend an hour in the light to impregnate the soul with the manifestation of that which you sowed in the darkness. I love going into the dark. And that's why I love being in the light, because I know God made me a balanced being. We need the darkness and we need the light. We need the water and we need the land. Brothers and sisters, stop worrying about saliva coming out of my mouth if you are male. No man should be worrying about saliva coming out of another man's mouth. Okay? I need you to intensify your masculinity. Your estrogen is getting the best of you right now. I need you to intensify your masculinity, my brother. Your estrogen is getting the best of you right now. I need you to intensify your masculinity because your estrogen is getting the best of you. I repeat myself because I'm Ifatunde 3 times. I repeat myself because I'm Ifatunde 3 times. I repeat myself. FBA stands for Functional Behavioral Assessment. FBA stands for Functional Behavioral Assessment. FBA stands for Functional Behavioral Assessment. That's a process we psychologists do when children have behavior problems, and we have to do an investigation into the behavior in question so we can complete and develop a comprehensive behavior intervention plan. That's FBA, Functional Behavioral Assessment. Black queens forever, snow bunnies never. There's no such thing as a snow bunny African. I rebuke you in the name of all ancestors. There's no such thing as a snow bunny African. I rebuke you in the name of all ancestors. There's no such thing as a snow bunny African. I rebuke you in the name of all ancestors. Jesse Lee Peterson has a destiny. I don't know what the hell it is, but he has one. Candace Owens has a destiny. I don't know what the hell it is, but she has one. Charles Barkley has a destiny. I don't know what the hell it is, but he has one. Larry Elder has a destiny. I don't know what the hell it is. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has a destiny. I don't know what the hell it is, but Negropeans have destiny too. But we don't fear the government because fear is energy. Whoever you fear, you feed your spiritual life force. Fear nothing, fear no one. Whoever you fear, you are feeding your life force. Fear nobody. Don't fear the cops. Don't fear the government. Don't fear your enemies. Don't fear your haters. Don't fear your name. Fear God. Fear only God. Have no fear for nothing or nobody else. Because whoever you fear, you feed your spiritual life force. Whoever you fear, you feed your spiritual life force, brothers and sisters. Fear no one, fear no thing. This is your brother King Kong. I got to get ready. Was this a good conversation today? I need feedback. Was this a good conversation today? I need feedback. Was this a good conversation today? I need feedback. Do we need more spiritual conversations with Professor Ifa Tunde? Do we need more spiritual conversations with Professor Ifa Tunde? Do we need more spiritual conversations with Professor Ifa Tunde? If we do not organize, we will not survive. If we do not organize, we will not survive. If we do not organize, we will not survive. If we do not organize, we will not survive. Peace and Pan-Africanism.